أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. We start with verse 34 of Surah Yunus. It says, ask them, can any of your shuraka create anything and then repeat its process? If they do not answer, then tell them, well, Allah creates and then repeats the process. Then how is it that you are so misled? Again, Prophet ﷺ is told to ask them that do their shuraka have the capability to create anything for the first time, meaning initially, and then repeat it as well? And when their answer does not come because they are dumbfounded, just tell them that my Rabb is capable of this deed. Then, seeing all this with your own eyes, why are you so misled? Why is your thinking so messed up despite these clear-cut signs? Verse 35, again ask them, is there any of your shuraka who can guide you to the truth? If they do not answer, then tell them, it is Allah who guides to the truth. Then who is more worthy to be followed? He that can guide to the truth or that cannot and is himself in need of guidance. What is the matter with you? What kind of judgment do you make? Now, human needs are not confined to just eating and drinking. One of the basic human needs is guidance, that is hidayat. That can these false gods give hidayat to you in any way? No, it is only Allah who can guide you. So the one who guides, is he more deserving that he should be followed, or the one who does not know the way himself? The message for us in the verse is that if we seek hidayah, then don't depend blindly on any person. This is the same concept that was explained in verse 32. Because no human being is perfect. He is bound to do some error. Don't make people the criteria of hidayah. Then what should we do? What criteria should we acquire? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you start trusting people totally, then you will face hopelessness. But when you start trusting the book of Allah, then you never have anything at stake. The end of the verse says that what is wrong with you? Why don't you understand this simple point and make your judgments? Verse 36. The fact is that most of them follow nothing but mere conjecture, and conjecture is in no way a substitute for the truth. Surely Allah is well aware of all that they do. Now the message in this verse is that many things which are introduced in the name of deen in our lives have no source, they have no authenticity. Now this conjecture is called zan. Zan has no value against the truth. What do we do that, my friend told me this, my cousin told me this, my grandmother told me this, and that's enough. No need to check, no need to verify whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded us to do so or not. Verse 37, this Quran is not such as could be produced by anyone other than Allah. In fact, it is the confirmation of prior revelations and fully explains the holy book. There is no doubt in this fact that it is revealed from the Rabb of the worlds. Now the verse says that this Quran is not something which any human being would have created. It is Allah alone who could create this masterpiece of creation. This book confirms the previous book. This book does not bring a new or alien ideology, and it is an explanation of Al-Kitab. What is Al-Kitab? Those basic teachings which are present in all books. It is a detail of the principles presented before, and if you want guidance, then stick to this source. Verse 38, do they say, he has forged it? Tell them, if what you say be true, then produce one surah like this. You may even call to your aid anyone you want other than Allah. Now the verse says that despite all these arguments given in the previous verses about the authenticity of the Quran, people still don't believe it to be the word of Allah and assume that Prophet ﷺ had somehow himself managed to write it. Now Prophet ﷺ is told to tell them that bring one surah of its like, and for accomplishing this task call anyone you want to from this world in helping you. And Prophet ﷺ was only one man. You go on, assemble the whole world and make just one surah of its kind. The Quran is asking them to prove their statement by reason and logic, and this challenge of the Quran is there since 1400 years, and up till now no one has been able to meet it. Even the great poets, writers, philosophers, intellectuals could not meet this challenge, and even if someone tried, the result was so disgusting, so disappointing, that instead of creating awe, people laughed on it. So the verse says that either bring one surah like the Quran, and if you cannot, then accept it and surrender. Verse 39, nay, they do not believe that which they cannot grasp, for they have not yet seen its prophecy fulfilled. The same way those who passed before them disbelieved, but see what was the end of the wrongdoers. The verse says that these people, without studying, without comprehending the Quran, decided to just reject it. Then we find that in our society there are people who do not like that their family members should go and study the Quran. They don't like the people who teach the Quran. And if we analyze, it is mostly those people who have never even once studied the Quran, and they have never listened even once to the person who is teaching, and yet they are confident enough to pass judgments. History proves that always this has been the attitude of people who deny truth, that without making any effort to know the truth or the true nature of things, they just reject it. And the word ta'wiluhu has a very vast meaning. It means that if you never drown yourself in the depths of this Quran, you never will feel the happiness it gives. And then how can you know what this Quran is? And another point is that you cannot explain to people the joy this book gives. For example, you eat something very tasty. You cannot explain its taste to other people. The most you can do is that you say that it's, superb, it's delicious. But you can't put that taste which you felt in another person's mouth. For that, he will have to taste it himself. The same is the case with the Quran. The joy, the peace of heart it gives cannot be experienced, but it has to be felt. And another meaning of ta'wil is the end result or the consequences, meaning that in order to check the authenticity of this book, act on it, analyze it, and then just see what its consequences are. Only then you will come to know that it is whether it is true or false. Like, for example, when you are studying maths, we have different formulas to solve a particular question. And in order to check a formula, you have to apply it correctly to the question. And if the question is solved by it, then it is accepted. And if the formula does not solve the question, then it is rejected. Now, the way Quran affects and changes people cannot be achieved by anything else. It changes your faces, it changes your speech, your dress, your dealings, your ikhlaq, your priorities, your life. Can this change be achieved by any other formula? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consoles Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that don't get disheartened, because this has been happening before you as well. that people reject the message of truth and also the one who gives the message of truth. Just wait and see the result of these wrongdoers. Verse 40 of these people, there are some who will believe in it and some who will not, and your Rabb best knows the troublemakers. Now the verse says that some people out of them, in their hearts of hearts, believe in the truth of this book, and there are some who do not believe in it, and their aim is to create disorder and mischief. They go through the Quran just to pick out faults and find points for criticism, and Allah is well aware of such wrongdoers. Verse 41, if they disbelieve, you say, I am responsible for my actions and you are for yours. You are not accountable for my actions, nor am I responsible for what you do. Now, this verse is an excellent answer for those who want to walk on the path of Deen with sincerity. But the society opposes them and does not let them walk on this path. Imagine the situation of Prophet ﷺ, that when he presented the message of truth, people opposed him, did not want to listen to him at all. And at this point, Prophet ﷺ did not wait to see that what the majority is saying or what the majority is doing and how to follow them. And what is the basic problem with us? That we try to follow that deen which the majority is following, believing that if so many people are following this path, then I must also follow the same path, without using reasoning or going to the sources. It does not befit a moment that he lives according to the likes of people. He has to live according to the will of his Rabb. And for that, he has to make one final and conclusive decision, that which is the path I'm going to follow. For example, if your desired path is east, then you cannot face west. You will have to turn your back towards the west. In other words, you will have to say goodbye to all the baseless common rituals of the society which are being followed in the name of Deen. Only then you will be able to get Allah. Why do you follow Deen? Because you want Allah. But if you have taken a path that is opposite to the path that leads to Allah, then you cannot get Allah, obviously. You cannot travel keeping your feet in two different boats. You cannot please dunya and Allah at the same time. And if people reject you or oppose you, then let them do whatever they want to, and you go on doing what you are doing. And keep this point in mind, that no matter what happens, you will not be a victim of mental slavery, and you will decide your matters on your own. You tell these people that you will not be asked about what I am doing, and I will not be asked about what you are doing. You go on practicing your ways, and I will practice what I want to. No one is accountable for someone else's record. It's such a liberating verse which breaks all the shackles of the baseless deen. For example, sometimes people say that why are you wearing this hijab? If they have the right to put their feet in your boundaries and inquire about your activities, then you certainly have a right to ask them that why are you wearing what you are wearing. If they have the right to comment on you, then you too have a right to comment on them. Why should your matters be in accordance with their likes and dislikes? You are not here to please everyone. Why shouldn't your likes and dislikes be according to the will of Allah? You have read La ilaha illallah. So when Allah is your only ilah, then why should their criticism be bothering you? If a woman is free to make herself half naked, then why aren't you free to cover yourself? When you are not questioning someone, then no one has the right to question you or impose his or her advise in your matters. And the gist of the verse is that while obeying any command of Allah, do not be apologetic for it. If people do not feel ashamed disobeying Allah, then why should you feel ashamed obeying Him? The point is that the Master, the Creator, the owner of Jannah has laid down certain rules and regulations regarding its merit. The conditions are basically two. One is related to the outward and one to the inward. The condition related to the inward is ikhlas, which means that the deed is done with the purity of intention for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no other motive behind it. And secondly, the outward condition is that this deed is done the sunnah way. If done in a way other than that, it is not acceptable. This is like you are sending a deed ahead to please Allah and to earn Jannah. And this deed has to have a stamp of the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for its acceptance. Whatever was said or done by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the sunnah, and whatever way was not his way is bidah or an innovation in deen. Our deeds are rewarded only if they are done according to the sunnah and rejected if they are according to bidah. So this is a serious matter and it is no trivial thing. On it depends your salvation in the akhirah. So the two parallel deens followed in our society are two. One is the deen that is followed by the majority. It is popular and it is the deen full of bidah and enjoyment. And secondly is the original deen according to the sunnah. Now when people say that, come on, what is the big fuss about? What's the harm if someone feels closer and connected to Allah with this ritual? This is where the harm lies. So no room for a compromise on the sunnah way. Try to teach and convince people about these ways. But if they persist on ways that are not a sunnah, then the simple formula is that you go your way and I will go mine.